Good morning everyone. It's Wednesday. That means we're going to talk about topics related to survivors of narcissistic and abusive personalities, or SNAP for short. Today, I'm going to talk about my top 3 most damaging personalities. So I've had the chance over the past few years to be collecting data up here as I hear people's stories and hear what they've been through, and I learn about the types of people that are harmful and the lasting and often generational effects that abusive people can have. So let's get started. The first is, oh wait, gotta say this first, sorry. Just remember that everything's a spectrum here, right? So when we're talking about different words like narcissism or psychopathy, or aka psychopaths, we're really talking about something that is a broad category that encompasses all different types of traits, tendencies, and so remember that it is a spectrum and that no one fits perfectly into any box, okay? All right, now we'll get started. So the first on my list is the Savvy Psychopath. The Savvy Psychopath. The Savvy Psychopath is one that you're going to see in the movies or in TV quite a bit. And they're the ones that strike without warning. They're right there in front of you, hiding in plain sight, and then they're gone, and then you're left with the damage, and you have no idea what happened, no clue at all. So a Savvy Psychopath is going to blend in. They're going to be likable, charming. They're going to, people are drawn to them often. They are really good at conversation, and they're really good at figuring out what makes you tick and what makes you feel good about yourself. So they're very nice and complimentary and charming. And they also might have skills or a good resume. Or they might have graduated from someplace prestigious. They might have some accomplishments that are legit. But sometimes they will completely fabricate their history in a major way. And that's how they will fool us at first, right? They move around a lot, so they'll be from somewhere else a lot of times. They have that geographical cure tactic where they'll pick up and move and go once things get stale or they've depleted their resources. So they're hiding in plain sight. They're very often, likable and charming. They seem kind of normal, and they're good conversationalists, and they're gone before you realize what has happened. I'm going to, and why are they the most damaging? One of the most damaging personalities. It's because they blend in so easily, and they do walk among us, and they will infiltrate and integrate into your life or your business, and then the next thing you know, you have no money, or they have managed to manipulate groups of people to oust you. It really does lasting damage to companies, corporations, businesses, families, and they're going to do things like they're going to take over. They're going to take the money. They're going to take the position. They're going to take your wife. They're going to turn your kids against you. They're diabolical, all the while with a smile on their face. And no one will believe you because they're so good at blending in, so then you seem crazy. Okay, so I'm going to read something to you from one of my very favorite books. I highly recommend it, Snakes in Suits. Oh my gosh, I love this. It tells you how psychopaths got the way that they are, how to spot them, and lots of anecdotal examples. But I'm just going to read a tiny little bit. Let's see here. The number of people with psychopathic personalities suggests that most of us will come across at least one psychopath during a typical day. Per day. However, the ability of clever psychopaths to hide their true nature makes it difficult to tell them from others one might meet on the street. Although we actually observe the, oh, well, this is referring to something earlier in the book. For all we know, our point is that several abilities, skills actually, make it difficult to see psychopaths for who they are. First, they are motivated to and have talent for reading people. They're so good at reading people and figuring out what makes them feel good about themselves, and for sizing them up quickly. They identify a person's likes and dislikes, motives, needs, weak spots, and vulnerabilities. We all have buttons that can be pushed, and psychopaths, more than most people, are always ready to push them. Second, many psychopaths come across as having excellent oral communication skills. In many cases, these skills are more apparent than real because of their readiness to jump right into conversation without the social inhibitions that hamper most people. So that's just a little taste of what this book has to offer, and what a savvy psychopath is like. If you want to see examples of this, let's see, Better Call Saul has some examples. That's a really good show for psychopaths. The show You is very good to show psychopaths. Anyway, so Savvy Psychopath is the number one, right? Number two is the Narcissistic Mom. Narcissistic moms do generational damage, and they're often the origin story of other narcissists or survivors of narcissists, and here's why. Narcissistic moms treat boys different than girls often. The daughters are seen as competition, extensions of themselves, and so therefore, the daughter, if the daughter has a perceived shortcoming of some sort, the mother hates that because in her eyes, that's an extension of herself. So the daughter has to be a good reflection of the mother at all times. But the daughter never feels good enough. She's constantly criticized. She's taught how to be codependent. That's where, a lot of survivors of narcissists originally learned how to be codependent, is with a narcissistic family system. Narcissistic moms are going to bash their daughter's physical appearance so that they feel ugly. Narcissistic moms will sabotage meaningful relationships so that the children don't, or the daughter does not have emotional attachment with someone else, and the mother can sort of, keep you isolated by sabotaging your friendships, making little comments about your friends. They don't really like you. That they're just faking it. And I see right through that girl. I know she's acting like your best friend, but I think that she's flirting with your boyfriend. When actually it's the narcissistic mom who's flirting with your boyfriend. Narcissistic moms treat boys, not always, but a lot of times, like boyfriends or husbands. They're going to treat the son like a golden child. He does no wrong, and there's no consequences for his behaviors, and this is a very doting mother on the son. And now we have a little budding narcissist who has this doting mother who never holds him accountable, and never imposes any consequences for his behaviors, right? So the narcissistic mother is an origin story for many abusers and people who have been abused. And that's why I say that they're in the top 3 most damaging. There's, of course, and statistically even, there's, of course, very abusive fathers who do generational damage. However, coming from the mother, for some reason, it has more internalized impact, especially on the daughters. And since that's who I treat mostly, then, of course, I'm seeing a lot of that with my clients. But narcissistic moms will also pit siblings against each other. So there's a divide and conquer tactic going on with narcissistic moms. They don't want the kids to really share their perspectives with each other. She wants the children to distrust, not trust each other. And oh, the narcissistic mom is the queen of the backhanded compliment. Okay? You know, the passive aggressive, mean spirited comments that are done with a smile. What do you mean? Oh, that's not what I meant by that. You know? Let's see, I'm trying to think of a comment that was made to me by an older narcissistic woman, not my mother. Let's see. Your hair looks so much better now. Your hair looks so much better now with a new haircut. It's implying that the hair didn't look good before, right? Oh, what do you mean you didn't like my hair before? Oh, no, I just am saying that it's a nice hair. That's all I'm saying. And now she's gonna gaslight you. And again, she will sabotage your relationships with boyfriends, with girlfriends, with other adults, and really just leaves you feeling like you're never good enough, that no one would want you, and that you are innately broken and innately flawed, right? So inside there is something wrong with you, and the only way for you to have relationships with people is to let them mistreat you. That's what the narcissistic mom tells us and reinforces, is that, you know, this is how life is, and people are going to molest you. They're going to mistreat you, and you just have to, you know, overlook those things and continue to try to make people like you by being codependent. So they teach us to put up with abuse, and furthermore that we deserve abuse. So that's one thing that makes us ripe for the picking if you were raised by a narcissistic mom. So that was the second one. Oh, the third one is one of my very most favorites, and it might take me a second to describe. But this is the nice guy narcissist. Okay, the nice guy narcissist. He's so nice. He is such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. And he does seem like a really nice guy, you know? And he's very good at being likable, not necessarily always charismatic and super charming like the Savvy Psychopath, but, you know, your general impression walking away is, that's a nice guy. And remember, spectrum, this is all a spectrum, traits and tendencies, right? So when we're looking at these types of behaviors and characteristics, we are only looking at patterns of behavior, attitudes, beliefs, right, and manipulative tactics that can go on. And when we notice these things, all we're doing then at that point is understanding who it is we're looking at, and then knowing how better to navigate them, okay? So the nice guy narcissist, he's going to appear to be good with kids. He's going to be a helper. He's going to take good care of the lawn. You know, he is got a little twinkle in his eye, and he might be a little flirtatious. He's going to make you feel in passing, you know, like that you're attractive. So he's going to make little flirty comments, possibly. But the nice guy narcissist, the reason why this guy is so damaging is because of how long it takes to figure out that he's a narcissist. And you're going to marry this guy, you're going to have kids with him, and your family's going to like him. And your friends may not like him as much, but a lot of times they do. And you think he's a nice guy too, because he seems like it. But there's this sort of, you know, constant gnawing feeling that things aren't quite right, that you aren't truly fulfilled, that you aren't truly heard or known, that your needs, wants, and emotions are not really that important. And overall, you wind up feeling like like that you are difficult or needy, You might even, start to go to therapy and take on that role that he puts you in, which is you're the one with the problems, because he's even keel. He doesn't have mood swings. Life is good. Look at our house. Look at the lawn. Look at our cars. Everything's fine. What could you possibly have to complain about? I provide these things for you. Look at your haircut. Look at your nails. I give you these things. What could you possibly have to criticize me about? So they will not take criticism. And they also talk in sound bites and generic statements, which if at first feels very romantic, but later on you realize that there's an emptiness back there, that there's no depth, there's a lack of empathy, there's a serious lack of emotional intelligence. So you're saying to this person frequently, especially having to do with parenting, yeah, maybe we shouldn't say that around the kids because it might be hurtful for them. Oh, come on, quit nitpicking me. Most women would be happy that their husbands were playing with the kids. Quit nitpicking me. So you're doing this human being 101 thing with them sometimes, where you're having to explain to them that something might have been hurtful, or that, maybe that's not how it should be handled. And then you get cast in this role of being crazy, difficult, obsessive, controlling, and they're also over it quickly. So you're going to bed and you are really upset and angry and distraught and crying, and he'll fall right to sleep because he's perfectly fine. So that's a little bit of a lack of empathy there. So it's in the little things. It's hard to figure it out at first because of how nice they seem, and everyone seems to like them, right? And so they're going to have a big friend group even. And they'll have like cliques from the past that they're still friends with and get together with the guys. And they're going to also have probably, some ex-girlfriends that are still around in the periphery, because they like to collect exes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So the reason, again, I know I'm repeating myself, the reason that they are one of the most damaging is because of this slow, insidious way that it all plays out. And, a lot of the women that are trying to get out of these relationships feel like they will say things to me like, I wish he would just punch me. I wish he would just punch me in the face, because that is so much more clear and tangible and factual than the psychological warfare and the mind games that go on with someone like this. It makes you feel like that you don't know up from down, you don't know him really, and also maybe you're the problem, because look at all these people that like him. He's great. He's a great coach. He's a great teacher. He's a great youth minister, great with kids. He works with children at the hospital in the oncology ward. He's so nice, and you're thinking, is it me? There must be something wrong with me, right? And yet your needs aren't met. You can't say, hey, could you mind not doing that? That really bothers me when you do that. God, you're so controlling. Or, yeah, Miss Sensitive, I'm not surprised it bothers you. Everything bothers you. So anytime you try to have a serious discussion about things in the relationship, they blow you off. They will villainize you. And then they talk in sound bites. They're going to say things like to outside world, right? So now we're out in public again. My wife is a wonderful mother, and I just love her to death. She doesn't get, what was one? She should make 3 figures for what she does in the day-to-day taking care of the kids. And it sounds nice, but if you listen closely, they're not saying anything specific about the wife. They're not saying anything about her personal, like, true qualities that are individual to her. They're going to speak in these sort of romantic comedy one-liners. You know, all a man can do is the best he can do. What was another one? Let's see. You know, what is it that you'd like to work on in your marriage? Well, I think I need to get a better job so that my partner feels satisfied with our standard of living. You know, that's a very surfacey, sort of shallow, response. Not, I'd like to feel more connected with my wife. You know, I'd like to feel like I understand her better. I want to learn how to communicate more clearly with my wife. That would be a more, meaningful and, someone who's truly emotionally connected. So anyway, we've got the Savvy Psychopath. We've got, and I forgot about these books too. So sorry. In the mornings, I'm not with it. Narcissistic Mothers. If you're the daughter of a narcissistic mom, great book. Great book. And there was something that I was going to read to you, but instead I'll just let you know that there's some checklists in here that'll let you know if this is actually the case for you. And then lists of things that you definitely will be noticing. For one, it says, your mother does not support your healthy expressions of self, especially when they conflict with her own needs or threaten her. Just one neat thing that is listed in this book. And then the other one I wanted to show you was one of my favorites, Emotional Vampires. Right? They are sucking you dry, your money, your energy, your time, your attention. They are kind of like vampires. They feed on us, and we feel depleted, and our resources are gone by the time they're finished with us. But what this does is it sort of categorizes the different types of exploitative and abusive personalities, and specifically tells you how to navigate each of those subtypes. So it's a really great book if you're wanting to learn more. Also, if you want to learn more, Class 1 of the SNAP classes is about the abusive personalities and those personality traits. So that class is all about this exact type of thing like we've talked about today. So if you're interested in that, you would want to sign up for Class 1 of the SNAP series. All right, I hope you guys have a really great day. If you have any questions about these things, please leave a comment or private message me. And I'll see you next week. Bye.